is Natasha. And we first saw Natasha speak last autumn for the Sussex Healers. And we thought, gosh, what a wonderful speaker you were. And if you've got any affinity with animals or horses in particular, I think you're going to really, really find this fascinating. Natasha's what's called an EFL coach. That's an Equine Facilitated Learning coach and intuitive energy channel. So I hope you really enjoy it, and a big hand for Natasha Leach.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming along. And yeah, I'm going to be presenting about walking with horses, the path to grounded spirituality, which is basically my path and my story of how the horses brought me back to myself, along with Equine Facilitated Learning and what we learn. So I'm going to be sharing a bit with you about that and showing you how you too can be helped by horses to find your way back to your authentic self. She says. There we go. Okay, I'm not such a seasoned professional with this, so bear with me. So I am an energy intuitive sound healer and channel, which really came about more because of the horses, an equine facilitated learning instructor, and I work online and in person in Sussex. So first of all, talking about spirituality, what exactly is it? Let's begin with the basics. Well, as I see it, we're all divine energetic beings going through countless lives, working our way through different dimensions and higher vibrations to take us back to source. We have also just embodying this truth is really what we're here to do on this earth in this lifetime. So being that divine essence, being kind, being loving, sharing our divine light with others and helping others to fulfill their soul's mission, just as we are hoping to fulfill our own as we travel through and navigate this kind of chaotic world we live in at this time. So spirituality has been fascinating over the last 30 years since I began my journey. As you're all aware, I'm sure, through the harmonic convergence in '87, the cosmic moment in 2012, and through to now, there's been so much change that we've experienced, especially in the energy that we're feeling and working with. Back in the 90s, when I began my journey with spirituality, it was wonderful to connect with the higher sources. We could all embody that, and we could meditate to connect to our higher selves, our guides, and to source. But doing the hard work, the shadow work, the processing, and the growth was blooming hard. The energies were like sticky, like mud. It was very difficult to work through those processes. But as we've moved on through these years, it's getting a little easier, which is nice. So back then, that sort of stickiness, that difficulty to get through all of that, drove me, and I'm sure many like me, to really aim for those higher chakras, for that higher connection, to almost escape the body and the 3D world we lived in. And it also led to a following for the law of attraction, which I'm sure you're all aware of, which is a universal truth. We do attract what we believe, what we intend, and what we wish for in this world. But, and there's a big but, that manifestation only truly comes when we've worked through our unconscious beliefs and limiting behaviors that are holding us back. We can aim to manifest, and so many people with things like the book The Secret would be, oh yes, I'm going to manifest my dreams, and then find, my goodness, it's not coming. Why isn't it coming? Well, it's because of what is stuck, because of what we're not accessing. And actually, the whole process of going up into those upper energies meant that we were denying the lower, more grounded energies and being able to embody that divinity here on earth, which leads to spiritual bypassing. I'm sure if you've heard of spiritual bypassing, it's really just being focused on those higher energies and trying to deny what we may call the so-called negative emotions, such as anger, You know, in those times, being angry was seen as bad. What you'll learn through this presentation is it's just information for us to work with. But it did keep us held back, or certainly myself. And at the time, I was working through quite a lot of trauma myself, but I love to connect to these higher energies. And so that led me on to training in Reiki. So at the beginning of the 2000s, between 2001 and 2003, I was initiated in all the levels of Reiki up to master level, and then on to Karuna Reiki that you can only practice after achieving master level. And I loved it. It was wonderful to feel so connected to spirit, to be able to help people, and to be in tune myself with those lovely energies. But like so many others, I really was escaping from the traumas that I hadn't dealt with from my past. So life went on. I had just achieved that. I'd also trained in massage therapy. And at that point, I was a single mother with a very small child and unsure of how to get out of the cycle of income support and not knowing how to get myself into my own life, my own path. So in that year, in 2003, sadly, my grandmother passed away in Switzerland and left our old family home empty. It had been in the family for 300 years and was a place where I felt rooted and grounded. So we packed our lives up in the back of our VW Polo, and myself and my 4-year-old daughter at the time traveled to Switzerland with our lives in the back of the car to Bonvillars in Switzerland. Just a new start for me, but actually escaping too. But I did get into practicing Reiki and massage and had a regular clientele. I also did some singing and presenting for film and television in Switzerland, using my English and my love of singing and my gift for singing at that time. But the main job was the Reiki and the massage. And I practiced for about 5 years in the classic form of giving Reiki, silently moving around the body, placing hands in the designated places. And for the first few years, that felt okay, but what I didn't realize is that I was putting on a cloak. I was acting as if, and being that Zen kind of peaceful, calm, Zen-like Reiki practitioner. That's not really me. I'm kind of vocal, active person, and it was almost that I was just wearing a hat. I was connecting and I was helping people, but there was something uncomfortable about it. In 2009, we had a few changes in our lives, and we decided that it might be best to come back to England. And it was interesting because it was when I was ready for that transition that suddenly I found myself standing over a client's body, laying my hands on, silently channeling the energy, and I felt this scream coming up from the inside of me. I wanted to run out of that room screaming. It felt totally inauthentic, but I didn't know why. I hadn't dealt with my own issues, and I wasn't sure why this didn't fit. But we moved back to England, and I told everyone that I wasn't going to be self-employed as a therapist any longer, that it probably wasn't best. I needed to have a regular income to be able to support my daughter, and I kind of left all that behind. I moved away from the Reiki. I even moved away from my own connection to my higher self and source and became completely 3D, as it were. I began to work for my dad in the architectural industry and as a sales representative in quite a masculine energy place, and worked away at it doing my best. But you can imagine what happened. 5 years on, I was burnt out, completely lost, totally unsure of who I was, what I was meant to be doing, where I was going. At that time, though, I had found my partner, who I'm still with now, and I also had reconnected with horses, who had always been a love in my life ever since I was a little toddler growing up in a town in Surrey where the Met Police trained their horses. I used to gaze up at those horses and actually wanted to be a mounted policewoman for a small part of my childhood, thinking that would be the right thing for me. Realised much later that really wasn't the thing for me. But I did have that reconnection and had begun horse riding and learning about a natural way to be with horses rather than the traditional form of just getting on the horse and ride and telling it what to do. I was looking into natural horsemanship and connection with the animals in a more compassionate and connected way. So whilst doing that, I was still unsure what to do. And one day, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and she said, well, you were always enjoying healing people with the Reiki and love helping people, and you love horses. Have you heard about Equine Facilitated Learning? And I had no idea what it was. But when she spoke about it, I thought, my goodness, maybe this is it. A spark was lit. I went home and I researched, and I found this book, The Tao of Equus, by Linda Kahanov, a pioneer in the form of therapy that we call equine facilitated learning. There are many terms, actually. Equine assisted therapy. It even goes to psychotherapy and traumatology. But I'm trained in personal development, helping people find themselves. This book was just incredible. It was her journey and how her horse started to teach her about being a better human. It was fascinating for me and so exciting that I signed up and did my first introductory course in 2018 and went on through the journey and began an apprenticeship finally in 2018 in Holland. So what is equine facilitated learning? Well, it's the form of personal development, as I said. It's based on the wisdom of horses, which actually some horsey people would say, what? You know, they're unruly creatures, don't know how to control them, etc. But there is such wisdom in the horses. And they give this beautiful, non-judgmental feedback that allows you to change yourself in the moment and with a felt sense, see the difference that brings about. So we use discussion, creative activities, and of course the experiences with the horses to help people become present to now, to become grounded and aware of what's going on in them as well as around them. It's focused on removing the layers of conditioning and survival patterns that we've all formed throughout our lives from early childhood. And it's about becoming emotionally intelligent and resilient. Again, another thing that, would you believe, comes from horses. So we learn to set boundaries in a healthy, connected way. Again, it's something you have to do with a horse. When you've got a 500-kilogram creature in front of you, you have to be able to be present with yourself and ask it to give you space so that you can remain in your body and feel safe in yourself and not dissociate away into a dangerous situation. And obviously, because of all this, it leads to self-empowerment and it leads to you really embodying your own authentic self. So how do we begin? Well, we begin by coming back into the body. And for me, this was life-changing. My spiritual aspect had always been to float out, off, away. But this was about coming back into your body and realizing that it's not by going out of the body that we can connect to our authentic being and to our higher self, but actually by staying within it. That our body actually is a tuner, an amplifier, and a receiver of information. And that information is not only from the environment and others, but from our inner being, from our true selves. And we like to say that our body is the horse our mind rides around on. It's the grounded part of us, it's the connected part of us. And our mind is just there to process the information that we receive from the higher realms, that we receive from our soul. It's an organizer, a planner, but the true information comes to the heart, comes to the body. And you'll all recognize that with experiences like goosebumps and the expressions feeling gutted. It's all about the body's truthful information telling you where you're at in this present moment. Those are accepted forms of it. But in fact, the body's doing that at all times, even now. If you do a body scan, which is the first tool we would teach with EFL, we scan through the body, noticing all the sensations. And you'd be amazed when you actually pay attention how many little sensations you'll be feeling. It could be just a change in position. It might be tingling in your fingers. It may be a chronic pain you've had before, but this time, when you pay attention, when you breathe into that area, give it lots of oxygen and awareness, you'd be amazed at the information that comes to you when you ask your body what that sensation holds for you. Sometimes it's extremely clear. It might be a word, it might be intuition, or the time is now, whatever it might be. But the body actually also works kind of mystically. Sometimes it might be a strange image that you would see, or you may have the words to a song or a memory come up. And it may be that you can't quite, at that moment in time, really figure out why that's the information you need to have. But if you feel it and you feel into it, and notice that once you've had that piece of information, if the sensation dissipates, your body's saying, that's good, you've had the information, you're good, you're present, and you've heard me, thank you. Now, it's not just that, the information, but it's also a baseline reading of our nervous system. So the body scan's a great thing to do, as I did before I came up here, just to scan through your body and have a baseline reading of where you are, so that when you go into a new situation, you'll be aware of where your body's at, and you'll be able to sense the next sensation that's coming, the next piece of information to help you. So this isn't a meditation, it's about being present in the now. And this is what horses rely on every day in able to feel safe. Because they're prey animals, their survival strategy is to be present to all that is around them in every moment, and they're able to respond as a herd in an instant. So what it means is that if a horse is, if the herd of horses, for example, are out grazing in America, there's a mountain lion nearby lying in the grass, they'll graze relaxedly, no problem at all, because they can sense that that mountain lion has just had its fill of food and it's not a threat to them. But the minute a lion comes by that is actually ready to find its meal, the first horse that senses that on the outskirts of the herd will notice it, and in a split second, the whole herd, just like Simon, Odie, and Rue here, will move in unison. They are totally connected to each other. And how? They're totally connected because they communicate through energy. It's practical sense to keep them safe, but it's also extremely spiritual. It's energetic. It's beyond words. It's beyond body language. It's just there. And so we practice that in equine facilitated learning. One of our first experiences is to go into an area with a horse and to practice noticing the energy fields as you approach a horse. You'll notice that they have their environmental layer, which might be the outside of the field, but if they've got a long view, it could be miles away in the distance. But they will notice a change in that from miles away. And as you approach a horse and walk into that environmental field, and you touch that first layer, the horse will look up. However far away, they'll notice you, and they'll check what your energy is like. Are you at peace? Are you relaxed? Or are you something to be worried about? And by doing this, you can begin to realize that not only does the horse notice you, but as you move through these energy fields, as you move through these layers closer and closer to the horse, your body responds too. Usually at exactly the same instance, you'll feel something in your body as you cross one of these layers of the energy field. And finally, from going from an environmental to the connection, we go into personal space. And personal space is like any of these. They can move, they can be larger or smaller, these energy fields, depending on how you're feeling and where you're at. But what's fascinating is, on this second image, the heart's electromagnetic field. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's an institute in America called the Heart Math Institute. Yeah, a few of you nodding. And do look them up. It's fascinating research they're doing about the heart and about how we connect in our heart space. And they have shown that actually the heart is the most powerful generator of electromagnetic energy. And we can walk into each other's heart field almost 6 to 12 feet away can be the thing. And it's even 5,000 times more powerful than what's produced by the brain. This is where the power's at. So if you imagine that a horse's heart is 5 times larger than a human's, then walking into that space with them, you are going into their heart space, a special area, something that they're offering to you. And if you can remain present with yourself and with that horse, so much insight comes, so much love, so much connection, and a connection as well from above to below. You're present to all along with the horse. So, as I was saying when I was talking about the horses moving as a herd, this is their connection to emotions. They felt fear when Embody and Rupert ran. For them, that wasn't a mountain lion. It was actually a man in a high-vis jacket cycling past that looked a bit scary and made them all flee. But it was fascinating because Linda started to observe the horses and started to realize that they had this process of dealing with emotions that is so incredibly healthy and something we can learn from. And she calls it the 4-step process. So the horses feel the emotion in its purest form. So when they feel that fear, their body tenses up, the vagus nerve goes into action, they're ready to move. I'm feeling the fear. So they realize it is fear. What can we do? My goodness, better run. And they get running. And as soon as they get to the other end of the field, for example, with Embody, when that man had cycled past in his high vis, he'd gone, they just go, okay, back to grazing. And they get eating, back into rest and digest. They don't hold on to it. They don't say, oh my God, what was that? That was horrible. He's going to come back again. Do you think that'll happen again? But oh my God, did you see that? You know, as we do as humans, holding on to stories, never letting it go, and actually holding it in our bodies. You know, we can, because we've never been taught throughout our childhood to work with emotions in a positive way, we've actually ended up suppressing them. Oh my God, I was feeling fear. Oh, don't cry. Don't be sad. Don't be angry. Come on. Because nobody else wants to deal with your emotions. But in fact, this is a wonderful tool to be able to realize that you can. You can work like the horses and go back to grazing, let it go. So the next tool we have here, is the emotional message chart. And the emotional message chart is the next step on from that. So what Linda did is begin to look at the emotions that we see as negative emotions. For example, anger. As I was saying, as a spiritual person, I can't possibly be angry. I'm not allowed to be angry. That's a very negative thing. I should just be positive and light all the time and really lovely. But actually, no. What does anger mean? Anger means that a boundary has been crossed, whether emotional, intellectual, physical, or spiritual. Somebody has crossed a boundary, and in order for you to become present again to yourself and authentically you need to process that information. So the 4-step process here is, what's the emotion? You find out the message behind the emotion, and a boundary has been crossed. You ask the question, what boundary has been crossed? How can I restore that boundary in a calm and connected way? I don't need to scream and shout at people and overtly express it onto them. But I can just say, I'm sorry, that really upset me when you did that. I'd really prefer if you did something different next time. Deal with it, and then go back to grazing. This was just life-changing for me. Through all these emotions, you find a way through them in a positive, grounded, authentic way without letting it become stuck inside your body as blocked energy that can then cause illness, or at least the limiting beliefs and behaviors that hold us back from truly being ourselves. So I began to learn all these tools during the apprenticeship. I came back to myself. I learned to use emotions as information. I began to learn to set boundaries better and kind of got started. It's a process, but got rid of the people pleaser in me, the one that always wants to say yes and make everyone happy. Learned to become more me. I was able to feel more grounded, more authentic, and begin to find a path that was right for me rather than to trying to fit into other people's roles, wear the hats and the cloaks of the jobs or the things that I was expected to do in life, and truly be myself. So what is being yourself? Well, it's being congruent. Congruence is about our mind, our body, and spirit being all in alignment. Once we're congruent, once we are truly in alignment with all these things, then we are really clear with our intentions. We see our path forward. We can be truthful in our actions, and we can connect with others in a way that's open and loving and yet powerful and true to ourselves, as I said. And so why are horses so good at teaching this? Well, because they communicate through body language and energy, because they can feel those changes within us, and because lies, sarcasm, and masking emotions doesn't work with them. If you're nervous and you walk up to a horse with a light smile on your face, saying, "Hello, horsey," they're either going to walk away, run away, or they're going to be tensing up, wondering what's going on here. They'll either see you as a threat, or they'll think there's a threat around you for them to be aware of, because they're feeling what's going on in your body. You can't mask anything with a horse. You have to be yourself. So there's no spiritual bypassing around them. You can't get away with it anymore. You've got to be real. So I'm going to be a bit real with you here and go through a little bit of being vulnerable. I'm going to show you that also horses teach us that vulnerability is strength, and that through making mistakes we can learn and we can grow and we can really begin to step into ourselves. So here I'm going to show you a few short videos of me in my training. And this first one, I am completely incongruent. It was the first time that I was going to be doing activity with the horses in front of my Linda Kahanov, this incredible teacher that I looked up to so much. And I had a bit of a bad back at the time, also because I wasn't in my strength. I was feeling vulnerable, and that would always go to my lower back. And performance anxiety, really, because the other ladies in the course all had horses of their own. But at this point, I didn't. I was actually just using, working with other people's horses and playing with them. So look at me. I'm not particularly in my body. I don't really know what I'm doing. And look at the horse. It's like, what? I don't really consider you a leader. I don't really think I want to go with you. And I'm kind of giving up there. It's just like, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. I could feel nervousness coming up. It was a horrible situation to be in. And she'll again, look, what are you asking of me? I try again. Obviously, she did put me in a difficult position by hiding in the marquee at the end of the arena. It wasn't very fair. But still, there's a little bit of movement. But again, nah. My body position, if you're a horsey person at all, you'll also know I didn't know where the hell I was. I was so dissociated that I wasn't even giving her energy from the right place. It was a complete mess, really. So, okay, what do? Go back to the beginning. I had to swallow my pride. I walked back and I put the head collar on the horse in front of all these horsewomen, all these people with all this skills, all my colleagues that I was trying to impress. But I had to show that I was able to stand with emotional resilience and say, I made a mistake, I can't do this well, I'm going back to the beginning, I'm going to try again. So here, I've got her on the lead rope, and she's still a bit hesitant. I'm still a bit nervous, feeling a bit rubbish because I had to go back to that point. But she's coming with me, and I'm starting to feel a bit more present in my body. You can kind of feel that I'm feeling my feet, but I'm not quite there yet. So I thought, go on, I'll give it a go. I take the head collar off and see if she'll come with me. And she's a little hesitant, but she's coming. She can tell that I'm trying, that I'm in the learning zone, that I'm congruently saying, I think you might like to come with me, but, but maybe I'm not quite a leader yet. That was a fly. So she's coming with me a little. Again, I'm still tense. I'm not particularly there, but I'm just enough for her to decide that it's okay to be with me and to have a little stroll with me. Sense of relief and quite a nice connection. But I went home that evening and I decided to just really feel in my body what it felt like the first time, what it felt like the second time, and how would I like to feel if I was going to do it properly? How would I like to feel if I was going to be a good leader for them? I would be fully present in my body. I would be in my heart so that I was connected to them, and I would be able to be a good leader. And this is just the next morning with another horse that I'd never worked with, but I'd done the preparation, I'd learnt my lessons, and look at the difference. I was congruent. I was relaxedly saying, can you please come with me? It's going to be fun. Let's have a nice walk. I could see that the flies were kind of annoying him, so I thought I'd stop, just give him a stroke, say that I was with him, and I understood that he was a bit uncomfortable because of all those horrible flies, which is why he's got a very strange zebra rug on, by the way. A bit of horsey fashion for you. But a totally different experience. And you can see that by doing these exercises with the horses, you learn with the felt sense. It's not intellectual. Your whole body, your whole cell memory takes on board the learning that you're achieving, which is why Equine Facilitated Learning is so powerful as a transformational tool in your life, because you learn with the whole of your being. Lovely. So, I was becoming congruent. I was finding my clarity of intention. I had that truthful connection with the horse and good leadership. I was authentic in my wish to be with him, and he was authentic in his wish to follow me. I was in my integrity, and it was a heart-centered space to be in, being grounded, aligned, and present in the moment, in my body, connected to all that is. So, click that on a bit early, but anyway, I was becoming congruent. And because of that, as I was working through the apprenticeship, I needed to find work again. I needed to find something to support me through my studies. And of course, as I was becoming more aligned and more in tune with my whole self and my spiritual being, I thought about healing. Maybe I could go back to healing. But this time, I had to be congruent. I had to be myself. So I dabbled a bit with the Karuna Reiki, because Karuna Reiki, they do say about using symbols and sounding the Karuna symbols, but even that didn't feel quite right. But one day, I was invited by a friend to go and give some energy healing to the animals at a sanctuary in Kent. And I was offering healing, actually, interestingly, a bit further away from the animals than I would do with Reiki. I was just standing back working on the energy field because I'd begun to understand how connected we are, even in that heart space a bit further away. But it was really when I went to this horse that a transformation happened for me. Unfortunately, I can't have the sound on this because there was a lot of wind that day. But what you'll see here is that I was standing on the outer edge of the horse's heart space. You'll just see me coming into view just about now. And I began to sing. I began to sing and chant sounds. I had no idea what they were. And if anyone had been present other than that one friend, I'd have probably shut up because it felt very strange and a bit embarrassing and a bit woo-woo. But the horse responded incredibly, so I just carried on. I actually ended up in tears. As you can see, I was quite emotional because she was holding so much pain. She really was suffering. And she responded so beautifully to it. I was working on the energy field. I felt myself moving my hands, and it wasn't just moving the energy, it was actually starting to draw symbols. So I was beginning to find, okay, I'm giving healing, I'm singing strange words and sounds, and I'm waving my hands in the air, but I have no idea what it is and what I'm doing. But I talked to a friend of mine who was a colleague in Holland, a colleague from the Equine Facilitated Learning, and I spoke to her about it, and she said, that's your light language. I know a healer who works with light language, used to speak to her. So I met Kayanisa, and I learned that I was saying my light language, that there was a word for this. But before that, let's just look. What is it with sound? Sound is so powerful. I didn't just give energy in the normal way with the Reiki, but I was adding sound vibrations to it, and not only that, but these light codes that I see as sacred geometry, often drawing them as I heal. And it's just like you can see here with cymatics, the study of sound and vibration. Matter changes with sound and brings this other dimension to the healing that I was offering. So it was confirmed. This was the way forward. So I trained as a light language facilitator. It was Kayanisa's first course, and so exciting for me to be able to anchor in this ability, have a name for it, actually, it was one thing, and to feel that I genuinely had something to offer that was authentically me. I didn't need to be silent and zen and wear the mantle of a type of healer that wasn't me. I could be myself. It was so exciting. And what did that mean? I began to manifest my dreams. And the first one was to take these two boys on. This is Simon and Odie. So Sai on the right there, and Odie here. Now, there are two ex-police horses, would you believe, from the Met Police in the hometown I grew up in, where I fell in love with horses. And they were given away to me at the age of 12 and 10 because they were considered dangerous. Odie there, the grey, they were going to put him down within a couple of weeks of me taking him on because they said he was dangerous, he didn't like humans, and especially men, supposedly. But I knew from what experience I'd had with horses that it was most likely he was just a very sensitive soul that didn't like the horrific work that police make horses do when they are such sensitive, energetic, and connected beings. What they're asked to do in their job is to dumb down and dissociate and not be horse-like. But I was going to offer these boys the ability to become horses again. And though it was a bit scary to have a horse like Odie, who was totally out of his body, he'd be going that direction, his feet were going that way, and he didn't know what he was doing, I was able to be present for him and connect with him in the heart space. And it took time to gain their trust, but I did. And because of that congruence, and because I was manifesting my dreams, we went one step further. And my partner and I got our new home in East Sussex, where we were able to have land for the horses, even a little bit of wood for them to wander through, and allow them to live out 24/7 and do whatever they please. Now, by doing that, I was able to bring them back to themselves and back to their own sensitivity and real horse-like nature, which means that now they are the best, well, I was going to say Odie is the best teacher you could have for that. Unfortunately, sadly, Simon here, our beautiful Simon, passed away in 2022. Yes, last year, passed away, but not before he actually fulfilled a true dream, I believe, for him, which was to have his own herd. Not only did he live out 24/7, but we brought the mares in from the rescue place where that horse had responded to me in the previous video. And we brought in Eowyn here, and then Nahima with her daughter, Oriana. These girls and these boys taught me so much. They helped me hone my craft, helped me become more authentic, learn to set boundaries, but also to regulate my nervous system so that I could help them regulate their own. Because these creatures really had a hard time with humans, especially Eowyn there in the middle. It had taken 5 years for the sanctuary to be able to take her back into the sanctuary away from a woman who was finally actually convicted of animal cruelty for the way in which she treated Eowyn and the other animals in her care. So I'm going to show you now just a little video of me offering light language to Eowyn, just to show a little bit of the power of it and how horses really connect so beautifully to healing energies and what it means to receive it. Why is that? There we go. Hopefully. And I just edited it onto another one because I had to move a bit of poo out from her face because she just flopped down. And we'll go on to the next one. So you can see how much she was releasing there. So much trauma, so much mistrust as well. It's taken a long time. Didn't even put a head collar on her for months because she had so much trauma. She even had the marks of a head collar on her face, though she was 8 years old, because they just left one on her for years and she'd grown into it. And she had scar wounds on her face, as did the other horse that was in the same stable as her, 24 hours a day, knee-deep in muck. So a lot of mistrust, but my God, she's an incredible healer. And though I had said that I wouldn't let her work with clients, I had a recent client who is a horse person and obviously very confident around horses, and she really, one day we were going through our discussions and she really wanted to work with Eowyn to do a heart connection experience. And I was saying, I don't really think so, and I don't even know if it's time for her to be led into the arena and forced to be with another human yet. We looked out the window and there she was in the arena with Nahima standing nearby as if to say, it's all right, I've got her back. And then my client walked in, was able to have this beautiful experience about connecting with her own trauma. And then we opened the gate, with Nahima watching all the time, and opened the gate and she walked out. It was just beautiful. So she offered herself. If she offers, I'll let her. But at the moment, it's just step by step. And this is little Oriana, and I had to add this photograph because it's so beautiful. After a light language session, you can see how much she'd enjoyed it. Little happy face, and so beautiful that you can see just where I was giving the energy. She's had some stifle issues and some issues with her doc, and it was as if the light was showing the work I had been doing. So as well as humans and horses, I now also work with all sorts of animals. These are some of my clients, past actually. They're all happy now, so no need to work with them anymore. But really lovely to be able to see how this light language and sound really works with all animals. They respond to it so beautifully. So really enjoy the new experiences I can have with different animals and embodying truly my way of working. So back to OD. Now, I really wanted to share this with you because I really want you to remember from this presentation that the most important thing I think that we need to learn as human beings is to be with our emotions, and is to be with the emotions we supposedly shouldn't be with, because that's the way we can move through them. That's the way we can keep ourselves healthy and in well-being, rather than having the blocked emotions that can cause physical upset as well as the limiting beliefs. Odie, being the sensitive soul that he is the best teacher. In fact, we have an expression in our home now saying, he did an Odie on me. And that's exactly what he's doing there. That intense stare was pointed at my partner, Alan, on the day that our cat had died. Alan had had Pablo for 19 years, and he hadn't had children until he came together with me and took on Maya when she was 13. He didn't have his own children, he had his cats. And he was distraught. But being the man, he was out chopping logs. He was out clearing the patio, doing all sorts of jobs, doing nothing anywhere near grieving or crying. And then Odie just stood there watching him. And I went outside and I said, Alan, look at Odie. And he burst into tears. That stare just asked him to be himself and to let the emotion through and not be ashamed of it. Let those tears fall, because as soon as you let the tears fall, you can go back to grazing. You can feel chilled. Your body will be releasing it, will be moving forward, and you can be yourself in the moment and move on to the next thing. But you need to express your emotions. So he did an Odie on Alan, and he does it on just about every one of my clients too. Beautiful soul, with so much to offer, and so misunderstood in his past, but now he's got the perfect job for him, because he really does know exactly what's going on inside of you. And so the congruence that I felt and that I was expressing and that I was being allowed me to be totally myself. And actually, I'll just go back a bit to Odie, because what I want to say is that this is what spirituality is all about for me. We are spiritual beings in a physical body, and we're here on this earth. We don't want to escape. We don't need to escape elsewhere. We're multi-dimensional beings. We will get to the 5D that we all love to talk about, the new earth, but we're going to do it here. We're going to be exactly that, multi-dimensional. We're going to have that ability to be in the 5D, but here present in the 3D, and we will only do that if we get through that nitty-gritty of dealing with our emotions, of being present to what's happening in our body and expressing it in a congruent but compassionate and connected way with those around us. And that's what the horses taught me, and what they help me teach other people. And by doing that, by being totally connected here and now with the spirituality and everything, being that full alignment from deep down in Mother Gaia all the way to the cosmos, has actually allowed me to go one step further than the light language. And that's where I'm coming to now, which is the Pleiadian star system, because one day my daughter asked me a question about her life, and I would usually just sort of close my eyes and tune in and see what intuitively came. That day, though, I closed my eyes, tuned in, and suddenly, as she told me later, I started speaking in a strange voice and gave her some real truth and wisdom. And I began channeling my guides, my soul family from the Pleiades, a gift that I just never imagined would be me, and one also that I must admit I found a little bit difficult to own, just like the light language. It's like, really? Me? Channel? Really? But I did, and it's beautiful. It's so wonderful to have that gift, to be able to connect in with them and to be able to bring that to my clients now. Because when I work with my clients now, I work with the horses, I work with the light language, and if need be, they can gain their wisdom from connecting to the Pleiadians too. So I'm really enjoying that fact that I can bring everything, all parts of me, my spiritual nature, my grounded authenticity from the horses, all of that into how I can help others do the same and bring them into being their own authentic beings, their own true selves. So it's a little bit of what I offer. Equine Facilitated Learning, the EFL group workshops with light language, some of them just standard EFL. I do energy-enhanced sound healing, obviously, for all beings, as I've expressed. And I do a healing circle meditation online, and I am going to be offering those as well from home soon as well. Another thing that I hadn't mentioned is once I'd channeled my own guides, I found that the animals I was connecting with and healing began to give me information and want to speak with their owners. So that's also come into my awareness as I become more and more me. I'm finding new and new pathways opening up to me. Another beautiful new collaboration for this year is an alchemy sound baths in collaboration with Priestess Brightstar, a priestess of Avalon actually, trained here in Avalon as a priestess, and she's a sound healer. And I channel the light language while she plays her bowls, gongs, and pyramids, and we offer a whole rounded experience for the people who come. And finally, I'm just doing some more continual personal development, which is so exciting, which is the connection focus therapy. And this is Linda's newest development of the Equine Facilitated Learning, bringing in the information, the cutting-edge information of the polyvagal theory and how to work with the nervous system for people with trauma, but bringing that in with the exercises we do with the horses. So I'm really excited to be moving more into helping people with deeper issues as well as the personal development and transformation. So there we go. That's me. And here is the summer solstice alchemy sound bath that we held outside on our land with the horses and our clients. So it's lovely to be able to offer that now out in nature to everyone. So here I am. This is me. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please come and see me afterwards. Thank you.
A big hand for Natasha.
Thank you.